and presentation. First of all, let's start with Hongxi, Sechin, and Laurent that will talk about offload. Then Shweta and Mario will discuss about what they are doing in Northeastern on the Coliseum platform, and then we'll close this long day for us in Europe. Okay, the floor is yours.
Okay. Yeah. Hello, everyone. So my name is Hongzhi Wang. Today I'm going to show you a demo about T1 IDPC offload. This work is done with Professor Florian Kattenberg and Sashkin Deli Zik. Sorry. So let's start. This work also with the support of Xilinx and VVDN. So first, about IDPC offload. The IDPC decoding is high computational consumption component, so it's a good candidate to offload into IPGA. In this demo, we will show with the uplink simulator, we got NR URSIM and also 5G ICA and end-to-end transmission with offload for the channel decoding. For the decoding, channel decoding, so we are using currently in OAI with a thread pool. Each transport block is split into multiple code block segments. And each segment have 3 components, the interleaving, rate matching, and the IDPC decoding. So if we have enough CPU core, so each segment will be run on different core. With T1 offload, the 3 components will be run on T1. In OAI, so the URL decoding is, as you can see, it's split it into 3 segments. It's split it into different segments. So each segment is running by different workers, right? So now with the offload, we are we have created a share library, which is based on BBDev. This library will translate the parameter for IDPC decoding into DPDK and then transmit it to T1 card. So the T1 is running with 3 components: the interleaving, rate matching, and the IDPC decoding. So the T1 card have a very powerful IPGA, so it can be run up to 17 gigabit per second for encoding, and also 8 gigabit for decoding. We are using the CB mode for the T1 IDPC decoder. So for multiple segments, this mode will be called multiple times. And we are using the branch IDPC offload T1 for this work. And there is a merge request ongoing. It will be merged soon in develop. So for the demo, so we will show two demos. The one is for URL simulator, an URL sim with the configuration, as you can see, as it says 30 kilohertz and 12 OFDM samples, one DMRS, and on CISO mode. We are using 100 megahertz bandwidth, and there are also different channel models we can use. For the 5G SA end-to-end demo, it will be run with a commercial UE cocktail. The configuration is similar, just we are running with two DMRs, and currently we're still using a 40 megahertz bandwidth, but we will drive with higher bandwidth, like 30 megahertz and also 80. The configuration is a two downlink channel and 7 uplink channel. And also for the TDD configuration, we will also increase the number of sorry, I think there's something I did a mistake. I think this is what we want to try later, because currently we have only 2 uplink and 7 downlink. So, okay. So in terms of this simulation, we have some results. This is already presented by Florian in the MC WIC conference. So on the left side, we have the blur performance. So we want to use the same performance for soft IDBC and also for T1 IDBC. With the same blur performance, we can see on the right side, we have the execution time. But I think here it should be noted that the number of the CPU core is same as the number of the segments. So for example, if we are running with the 26 MCS with a 100 megahertz bandwidth, we will have 23 CPU cores running in parallel. So this is the timing for multiple cores. On T1, we have only 1 core, so the 23 segments will be sent to T1 for decoding. So in terms of the SA and demo, so we have we are using the core network, which is running on the virtual container. For the radio, we are using the URSRP N310. For the UE equipment, we are using Quacktail. And the T1 offload using for the channel decoding. So let's start for the demo. So this is the recorded. So first, we will run on the left side is a software-based IDBC. So it's running with 100 megahertz bandwidth. We can see here the size of the transport block, and also 12 OFDM samples, a number of PRBs, the DMRS configuration. So here we can see we have the URSH decoding time is about 525 microseconds. And this is running with multiple CPU cores. So in this case is 23 cores. On the right side, I will run the same, but with T1. So it's same MCS and same bandwidth. So in terms of the execution time, we have about 400 microseconds. So it's about, I think, yeah, this is for 23 segments. So we are running with one CPU core, but all the decoding is running on T1. This is for the NR SIM. I will show another demo. So on the left side, I will run the software modem with the IDPC offload enabled in IC mode. So let's start it. It will start it first. It will initialize the T1 card. And then when the URSIP is ready, it will start transmitting and receiving. So let's wait a little bit. Okay. Now it started. So on the right side is a console of the UE equipment. So it's for Crocodile. I will start the UE. So as you can see, it's connected. It's got IP address. So now I'm going to run some iPerf to push the traffic. So as you can see, we are using in this demo is MCS 22 with 40 megahertz bandwidth, but we have some limitation for the PRBs, so we are using only half of the bandwidth. We can achieve about 10 megabits per second. And on the left side, we have some statistic about the transmission. So the uplink is received correctly. And yeah, I think this is done for the demo.
We have some question on the, if you have ready to answer.
Yeah.
So I have one from Mario, maybe it's in staging presentation, is will you explain how to trigger burst mode in DPDK And he had another question that is 23 segments are sent under DPTK in burst or something like that. So I don't know if you can answer or if it's in Sechin presentation.
Sorry. Can you repeat? The question is.
It's from Mario. Look from Mario.
Let me try to find how to trigger the burst mode in DPTK.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm using the DPTK. If we use test BBDev, we can change the number of the burst. But in this demo, we are using only one burst because we don't want to run the same segment for multiple times. So for me, I'm using only one burst.
Okay. I have another question from Martin. It's asking a question about the overhead related to the transfer time compared to the processing time on the T1 board. Do you have such kind of numbers? Or you didn't measure? You just measure the offload I itself, but not the separation between the transfer time versus the processing time on the card. You didn't look at this part.
The time is measured include the transmitting time and also the decoding time. So for each segment, it's about less than 20 microseconds. So we cannot separate the
okay. So you don't, sorry, Martin, we don't have the numbers for you. Okay. And
the card specification, you have it on internet. It's very, very fast. It does almost 10 gigabits per second in decoding. So probably most of the time is in the.
It's negligible for compared to the processing time. Is that what you mean, Laurent?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can continue if everyone can hear me.
Yeah, go ahead, Tichin. Okay.
Okay. So I hope everyone can hear me and see me, right? This presentation at least. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear. Yes,
oh,
you can.
Okay, thank you. So hi everyone, welcome again to Fall 2021 OAI workshop. And my name is Seçkin. I'm an intern at OAI. And I have the privilege to work with Professor Kaltenberger and Hongzhi Wang on LTPC offload project. And today I would like to talk about the multiprocessing part of the LTPC offload with SR-IOV. So what is SR-IOV? It is single root I/O virtualization. Basically, it's a specification that allows a PCIe device to act as a multiple physical PCIe device, but it needs some support in the BIOS as well as in the OS instance, and the hardware should support it as well. And this specification introduced the physical function, as we call them PFs, and the virtual function, as we call them VFs. And the physical functions are the full-featured PCIe functions. We can consider it as the card itself. And the virtual functions, however, are the lightweight versions of it, which are lack configuration resources. Basically, they just do the I/O communication. So in our case, the LDPC offloading on T1 card with SR-IOV, the T1 card can support up to 4 virtual functions, so we can run up to 4 apps on the same card in the same time. And we will run a VF Manager app to handle the multiple VFs so that we can handle the whole processing on the card in the same time. Today, we will run two NRUL uplink simulation application of OAI simultaneously on the same server on the same T1 card. We can consider it as a simulation of multiple distributed units with the use on the same server. And later on, we will do the same demo with NR soft modem, but as of now, with the technical issues, we cannot have it. So I would like to do the demo. So here on the left side, the left terminal will be the VF Manager, which will handle the middle and the right terminals. In the middle and the right terminals, I will run the NRUL app, and then we will see that they both can run on the same time. We will see it on the left side. In the left VF Manager application, as you can see, it is on the waiting part now, and I will run the two different terminals on the middle and on the right side. They will run in the same time simultaneously on the same card on the same server.
No,
this is just a simulation, and we can see on the left side the function ID 5 and 4 indicates the different virtual functions, and the QIDs are different as well, meaning they all have different queues and they are working in the same time. As of now, demo is that is the demo for now.
Okay. I think now it's you, Laurent. Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening.
Bye bye. Thank you very much, Sachin.
Camera or no camera? I don't see my face. Okay, cut it.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
We are late.
Yeah. So we in OpenAir we have a design with shared libs, as it is in Linux. So we have the same system for variable hardwares like RF boards or hardware accelerators. It is based on shared libs that we open in the code with DLOpen, and then we have a fixed function names convention in OpenAir. And it is what we do for LDPC, for example. So for LDPC now we have at least 3 .so files, one that is use regular CPU, one that use the T1 card, and one that use GPU. And so the CUDA one, GPU is CUDA today. There is not yet OpenCL. So I've put the file name. So to compile such libraries, you can do what we saw in the workshop earlier with build.ai, but you can also simply go in the building directory and then do either Ninja, either make the binary you want. So for example, LDPC CUDA. And there is also a small binary called LDPC test that is even below what Hongzhi shown us. So for example, in that case, LDPC is really something to optimize. So you can run the whole OpenAir and see what it does. You can run, as I've shown Hongzhi, ULSIM, DLSIM, and so on, that run only the file layer in just chained to see what is the performance. But for LDPC, for example, there is even a small executable just for to test that is called LDPC test that will just run LDPC. So you create the LDPC CUDA library, and then we can go to next slide. Thank you. And so you can run with LDPC test all the versions and see what it does. And maybe I can do, if I can share the screen, a small demo. That is likely this one, I guess. No, it is not the right one. This one. So here I have just compiled the LDPC test, and if you run it like that, you have the version with CPU. And you see that here the decoding time is 94 microseconds. But we'll discuss that after. You see the iterations is 5. If I run it with -v_CUDA, it will just do the same, but loading the library that have _CUDA name. And here we run on my laptop that has an NVIDIA graphical card, a cheap one. And we see that the decoding time is 66 microseconds, so it looks better. But somehow we see max iteration is 1. And that is, for me, the most important thing is that it's very easy to make very fast decoding if the performance is poor. And so maybe we can go back to the slides if I stop sharing. On this, I've shown you that in his graph that the T1 card was decoding better than the OpenAir 2-day decoder in software by something like 1 dB. But 1 dB means that you cut the number of iterations by the half. And so it's quite,
yeah,
it's quite very important.
Yeah, we are using different number of iterations. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if someone in lab just want to decode fast, because your lab is to make a very large throughput or something like that, you can just tweak a bit the system, have a better SNR than the target that is defined into GPP, and then you will use much less CPU from 1 iteration to about 20, because it seems that with LDPC, the optimal decoding is near 20 iterations, while with 4G on turbo, it was more 5 iterations was enough. So you see, my result was 66 microseconds with GPU, 90 something with CPU. So we can believe that GPU is faster, but it is not. It is not, because the quality of the decoding is worse. And then there was questions on the chat. I have a plan to speak about that also. So yeah, to get good performance and to eat less CPU, at least if we are in software, we can try to check the CRCs before the maximum iterations. It is what we do in OpenAir. And recently, we changed the CRC implementation to use SIMD instructions, and that saved about 8 times the CPU it was costing. That changed also the balance, because if you want to decode and you have a very fast CRC, you can check the CRC at each iteration of the LDPC to stop the decoding as soon as you have the right CRC. And so my conclusion on that is that it is not only to make a very fast LDPC 1 iteration system, it's more complex. And Nguzi has shown us that in T1 they also accelerate interleaving and all the block that is around that error correction system. And we have to pay attention on the whole picture, not only on having a fast LDPC iteration. Is there any questions? No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we are running late anyway. So thank you very much, Laurent and Hongzhi and Sechin, for these offload topics.
The code is available. So
yeah, I already answered the questions on the Slack, on the chat.